Spirits will inhabit animals for a time to be able to communicate a message to their loved ones.
And the message was, what do you think he was trying to say?
I'm here with you. I will always be here with you. I love you. And don't worry, I will take care of you.
Welcome to Zestful Aging, where I interview thoughtful, inspiring, and creative guests who are changing the way we think about what is possible in our lives. I'm your host, Nicole Christina, psychotherapist and fellow Zestful Ager, and I love to hear from my listeners. My new website, zestfulaging.com, is up and running, and it makes it easy for you to leave comments or suggestions. Our music is courtesy of Judy Banker from her CD Buffalo Hotel, and it will be available in January of 2020. Judy Banker is also a guest, so you can hear my interview with her on the podcast. Well, I've got my Jack Russell Sparky right by my side, so let's begin. So I'm walking with Anne-Marie Higgins, and Anne-Marie and her husband Tim were avid birders, and hawks were their favorite raptor. And after her husband died, he began communicating with Anne-Marie in many ways, primarily through hawks, which led her to write their memoir, Dancing in Two Realms, a love story beyond death. In 2017, she donated hawk nest cameras to Syracuse University in memory of Tim, and now thousands of people worldwide have enjoyed watching the nest activities of resident red-tailed hawks, SU, Sue, and Otto, as they raise their chicks each year. And Anne-Marie keeps up with them and watches for them at Syracuse University and Oakwood Cemetery, which is a historical cemetery, and that's where we're walking now. And she's written a children's book about hawks, which is yet to be published. Welcome to the show, Anne-Marie.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nicole. It's lovely to be here and on the show.
We've both grown to love Oakwood Cemetery over the many, many years.
Yes.
We've just met.
I know. That's quite amazing. So but I consider it a synchronicity. I don't believe in coincidences. This is the right time for us to meet.
So tell people a little bit about what you know about Oakwood Cemetery.
Well, as you said, it's an historic cemetery. It's 160 acres of amazing rolling hills and some flat lands and absolutely gorgeous trees filled with wonderful nature. There's some, the hawks are here, but there's foxes and raccoons and squirrels and all different kinds of birds. So it's a great place for birders and for nature enthusiasts and for people interested in historic cemeteries. The stones, gravestones and monuments here are amazing, and there's a lot of famous local people who are buried here, and it's a fascinating place, and some say it's got some haunted places.
Ooh,
of course.
Of course.
Yes.
And I was aware that sometimes the historical society they schedule walks and talk about the grounds and how it was actually a recreational area at one time when people would bring their carriages and picnics.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yes. The history here is quite amazing.
What we're doing now and what brings us to Oakwood is that this is where the hawks live.
Yes. They live here in Syracuse University, and this is where they hunt. It's part of their territory. Red-tailed hawks have usually about a 1 to 1.5 square mile territory in which they hunt and nest. And so that includes Syracuse University, ESF, Oakwood Cemetery, and part of Thorndon Park, actually.
I see. And so what brings them to these areas?
The prey. It's primarily prey, being the animals that they need for food. And also at Syracuse University, they have the absolute optimum nest situation. I mean, it couldn't be a better nest site. It's since 2012 they've been nesting on Lyman Hall, which is a very high, tall historical building. And there are archways I don't know what kind of architecture it is per se, but it's a beautiful building, and the archways have two areas on either side where they have built the nests, and the archways are covered, so their nests and their chicks stay dry, unlike a hawk that builds a nest in a tree and obviously is exposed to all the elements.
So they have roofs. These chicks get roofs over there.
They have roofs. It's amazing. The only time that they ever get really wet like some rain or wind is when there's a nor'easter, and wind blows in that way. But they're just absolutely, wonderful places. They're high, they're far away from predators. Unlike being in Oakwood Cemetery, I know there are other nests here, and I've heard of nests, obviously there are predators that live here as well, such as owls. Owls are really the only natural predator of a red-tailed hawk, and they don't really go after the hawk per se, but they would steal the eggs and small chicks, but the parents would never allow that. The parents are fierce. So it's a perfect spot for them to raise their chicks. They start rebuilding the nests usually in January or February. There are 4 nests in 2 archways that they've used periodically since 2012, and they just use one and then refurbish it each year, and that's
Spruce
typically
it up a bit.
It gets it spruced. Absolutely, they're nestorations, and that's typical. Generally, hawks do go back to the same nest site year after year, but they get to pick from 4. So they're wonderful, and what's so wonderful about these particular nests is because it's on an archway, there's a ledge between the 2 corners, and when the chicks are able to move more, they learn to walk across the ledge to the opposite side. The parents show them, and then that's what's called, if they were in a tree, they would learn how to fly and practice by going out onto a branch.
I see.
But this is instead going out onto a ledge.
And in Cornell, they go out on that catwalk,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
I see.
Yep.
And
So
you
Cornell
see
has a
them
platform.
tippy-toeing like it's a high diving board and looking over, and just you can sort of see the wheels turning. Is today the day?
Absolutely.
It's a long way down.
Absolutely. It's fascinating to watch. Fascinating. So
you have, I mean, even though you know a lot of facts about these birds, you have a much deeper connection to these guys.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do. Yes, and I know where you're leading to my, just hawks in general. My husband and I, as you had said in the beginning, were birders, and hawks were our favorite bird. And my husband died horrifically after 18 days after being diagnosed with cancer. And so it was quite a shock. And very soon after he died, animals in our backyard started acting very differently, coming up to me, walking right close to the house. It wasn't hawks initially that were acting differently, because I didn't have a hawk in the backyard, but soon after he died, a hawk flew by my car and stared at me, and I just said, "Timmy," and I don't even know why I said that, because I said to myself, why am I why am I asking this hawk if it's Tim? Because I
Yeah.
didn't understand it, and I didn't know what was happening, to me, or to why these things were happening, and it happened over and over.
Was it a little scary?
No,
No.
it was exciting. It was wonderful
Ah.
because I wanted to believe, but I didn't understand it, and I wrote about this in my memoir, and there were many things before the hawks, so that I, rather than well, I can describe one thing. I mean, soon after he died, he spoke with me, and he told me where a combination to the safe was, that I had to get some important paperwork out, and I didn't know the combination to the safe.
Oh my goodness.
And he spoke in my ear, so I knew that there was something, that he was somewhere. His spirit, somehow this was happening, and I would pinch myself and say, Anne Marie, are you going crazy?
Ah.
But he told me, and I looked, and that's where it was. So a lot of things happened other than hawks, but the hawk specifically was so symbolic, because hawks are considered messengers of the spirit world, and they are very protective of their family, and Tim was certainly protective of me, and since he was left so suddenly, he knew I was having such a hard time.
And they mate for life.
And they absolutely mate for life, and so, my soulmate, my beloved Tim, chose the right bird to communicate to me that he was with me and he was going to take care of me. And I knew that. And one of the main times that a hawk specifically took care of me was when we rent a cottage every year up on Lake Ontario. Actually, now we moved to a house, but I was going to this cottage that we liked, and a friend was going to join me, and she texted me that she couldn't join me that day, and I was terrified because I was arriving alone to a place that I normally would be with Tim, and so I was really upset by it. And by terrified, I mean I just didn't know how I was going to handle it. It was just hard for me. I knew the neighbors, their friends, so they kind of took me under their wing per se. But I still was there alone, and I unpacked the car, talked to my friends for a little while, then went back to the cottage, and there was a hawk on the telephone wire between the two houses. And hawks are not water birds. Hawks eat mammals. They're not eagles. Eagles and osprey are around lakes.
I see.
There's no reason for a red-tailed hawk to be on a lake. Truly, it's not their typical habitat. And this hawk is just on this wire, and I'm like, Timmy? And it was gorgeous, and it just stayed there and stayed there and stayed there.
My gosh.
Overnight, almost 24 hours, this hawk stayed with me. I have pictures of it in my book.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I have pictures of it in my book because
Totally getting chills.
complete chills, confirmatory goosebumps, because this hawk has blue eyes. And hawks do not have blue eyes. But my husband had blue eyes. So I have a picture of this blue-eyed hawk in my book. And the hawk went to my car, went to the stoop of the cottage.
This is not typical behavior of wild animals.
No.
No, they're not asking to be buddies with humans.
Completely not. A wild animal staying with me. And I even had to, I won't go into why I had to leave, but I had to leave for a little bit, and I said, Timmy, I've got to go. I'll be right back. Can you just wait for me? And I quickly did an errand and came back, and the hawk was still there. And then I got a text from my girlfriend and saying she was coming. She was on her way. And I looked at the hawk and I said, oh, good. Lynn is on her way. I think I'm going to be okay. And with that, the hawk looked at me and flew away.
Oh my gosh.
And it was beyond incredible. And
That's a life-changing experience.
Exactly. I know my husband inhabited that animal. He didn't become a hawk. He's simply spirits will inhabit animals for a time to be able to communicate a message to their loved ones.
And the message was, what do you think he was trying to say?
I'm here with you. I will always be here with you. I love you. And don't worry, I will take care of you.
Oh my goodness!
And he has. He still does. We met.
That's right.
That
is right.
But I've had several other experiences that I talk about in my book, and since then, so I know that Tim is always with me, and he's going to take care of me.
Now, you're a professional woman, you're a family therapist, nurse practitioner. Is this something that you've had any reactions about, that people don't feel comfortable, or they're weirded out, or they say, you're a medical, trained person. This sounds a little crazy.
Well, honestly, I wrote that in my preface because I was a little bit worried about writing this book, but just so many things happened over and over and over that I felt I needed to. And I could tell it was something that needed to be told to the world. And then I was very afraid of how people would react.
Like your reputation.
Yeah, and my husband was a judge. I was a nurse practitioner. Yeah. He was well known in the city. What's this going to do? Well, my first book signing was at the Century Club, which is a rather conservative social club that we belong to, that he's been a member for years, and I thought if I'm going to break through, this is where it's going to be. The room was filled. There were 47 people there. This one woman bought 15 books to give to all of her friends, and she was like this ultra-conservative person. And again, that's not a judgment per se. It's just I was shocked at the fact that, I thought that these people might, they knew Tim, and would they accept this, that he was a bird? He was coming to me in a bird. And they were fascinated. And one gentleman came up to me and he said, "Anne-Marie, thank you for talking about this. It gives us permission to talk about it." And another woman said essentially the same thing and said, my mother comes in a cardinal, which is a lot of, that's, moms especially, but, cardinals are full-spirited and, symbolize love. And so I said, if I broke through this audience and they came to me, it was a choice for them to come to this book signing, then I was, off and running. And I honestly, truly have never had people look at me weird. They just say, well, if they don't agree with it, they say, well, that's cool, or that's different. But I've never had a truly negative reaction. It's mostly people gives them permission to talk about what they have experienced. Or this one, somebody wrote to me, and it moved me so much. It was a woman and a man, and he was dying of cancer. And she said, I reread your book, and now my husband is not afraid to die.
Oh.
And I was so pleased. I essentially wanted people to understand this was my experience, but if it could help other people, and that's exactly what it did. I was blown away, and I've had many people write to me about how it has given them hope. One woman, actually, it was a breakthrough for her. There's a chapter where I talk about my husband's deathbed and what I did along, to be with him and for our last moments. And this woman read the book, and she was with her husband at his deathbed, but had totally blanked out what had happened from that point, and she could not breakthrough, and she was very depressed, and her therapist was trying to get through to her, and she couldn't. When she read my book, she said, "Oh my gosh, that's what happened, that's what happened, that's what I did." I mean, it was essentially just holding and hugging and kissing and talking and being present with the body that you loved for how many years, but still not being rushed out by, healthcare personnel.
Yes.
You spend all the time you need to get through those moments.
Have some time.
Exactly. So, and she and I became friends after that, and she lives in California.
Wow.
She said, I just could not. It was so traumatic to me. It would just I couldn't move forward, and it helped her move forward in her healing. That was
so it's
grab.
to say it's been life changing is sort of obvious. So how is it for you now, going through your world, knowing that this exists?
I'm not afraid to die, truly. Although if a person was standing here with a gun, I'm certain I wouldn't be welcoming it.
Yes.
But what I mean is, I am not afraid of that's the end. I know there is something else. What it is, I do not know. I can't say for sure because I don't know. Obviously, I mean, Tim has talked about it being beautiful and peaceful, but I just know in my heart that I'm going to see him again, and so, but I'm still here for some kind of reason, and that's sometimes was hard for me to accept, but I'm getting to the point. It's 10 years this November 7th that Tim died, and kind of a milestone year. And I do see how my life has unfolded in totally different ways than I ever anticipated. I certainly never knew I'd be following hawks around, photographing them.
And how often do you come down to Oakwood or go?
Every day.
Every day?
Twice a day when the hawks are, when the juveniles are here. Yeah, primarily because juvenile hawks like to get injured. They don't like it. They tend to get injured in their first year in one way or the other. This year, happily, it didn't happen. But since 2016, since I've been following this group of hawks at Syracuse University, 2 have died. One by hitting a window. Birds hit windows, and unfortunately, you wouldn't imagine a big, powerful hawk could be killed, but if they think they're flying into a tree, going full force.
It's a lot of power,
a reflective window. And another one, sadly, died last August here. It was awful. I knew she wasn't feeling well because she was sleeping during the day, and I kept track of her every day, and I would stay with her. But every time she woke up, she would fly. And so the rehabber said, maybe she, hit a tree and has a slight concussion, so just keep your eye on her. But she always could fly. So there was no way to capture her and evaluate her. Then she was found by some dog walkers right near where we were walking, and I happened to be here on my evening rounds, and they called me because I had just met them 3 days before, and they remembered my name. Amazingly, actually, they posted it on Facebook, but someone called me. I took her straight to Cornell, and she died the next day. She had West Nile virus, which is something that usually kills corvids, which are crows. Typically, they seem to be more susceptible to it than hawks and eagles, but hawks and eagles can get it too, either by a mosquito biting them or by eating prey that was infected.
Do you want to also talk a little bit about the dangers of rat poison.
Oh, yes. Now, yeah, this is interesting that you're asking me this. I rescued another hawk who wasn't a progeny of theirs 2 years ago in December. I was checking on Otto and Sue at Syracuse University, and I couldn't tell what kind of hawk it was, but it was on a bench in front of Shine Student Center. And Otto was up on a light post, and he swooped down and attacked it. And so I saw them fly, and they sort of grazed talons, but I couldn't tell. And then Otto retreated, and that hawk kept going. So I followed it, and I couldn't tell I thought it was a Cooper's hawk at first. So I followed it, and I saw it fly near the VA, and then I didn't see it anymore. So I walked to the VA and the upstate library and looked over this stone wall, and the hawk was face down in the snow.
Oh.
So I called my rehabber. I rescued it, brought it there, and it turned out it smelled horribly. And she put antibiotics down, went to Cornell the next day, and turns out it had what's called sauerkraut, and that was from eating a rat-poisoned rodent. And luckily, this animal lived. And our story was in the Syracuse newspaper, and it's going to be in an upcoming book. And Cornell wrote about it as well. And interestingly, the woman who we released it, by the way, on Easter Sunday in Montezuma, because
the refuge center.
Yep, the refuge center, because marshland is where typically where it was a northern harrier. It was which is a climate endangered habitat endangered hawk. It's known as the gray ghost. It's a gorgeous hawk. It's gray and white, and its face looks more owl-like than hawk-like. I'll have to show you photos. And just last night, the woman who is writing the story in a book, Melissa Grew, is a very famous photographer, and she is writing a story a week about dangers to animals and their habitat and their health on her Facebook page, and she happened to write about this harrier just last night.
Is she a local photographer?
She's in Ithaca. She's incredible. Yeah, you'll have to look her up.
I'm going to.
Oh, yeah.
So now I have a couple maybe harder questions for you to put into words. What is it about?
Oh, can I just say one more thing?
Sure, of course.
So please don't use rat poison. First of all, it kills the rat very slowly, and it's a very painful death because they essentially bleed to death, and they're dehydrated, and if they're in your home, they try to leave to get water or something, and so then a raptor will find them. They're easy prey because they're disoriented.
Yeah.
But also, your cat or your dog might also be in contact with this rat poisoned, and that's happened. I know of someone whose dog died because it partially ate a rodent that had been killed with rat poison. Trap them. It's a much quicker, more.
It's more humane.
Thank you. The word I was thinking.
I guess
humane
they're
death.
pretty smart animals. Although I don't know if I'd want one as a pet, but people do have affection for them.
I guess you can raise them domestically, but and it's just poison of any kind.
Yes.
It causes secondary poisonings, hurts the environment. Just get rid of them in a different way.
All around good advice.
Yes. Just a special place.
It is. What's your advice for people who have lost someone and they have a sense that maybe they're gone in the physical realm, but that they have a sense that they may be existing elsewhere? What would you tell them?
Well, I would say if you if you have a sense, pay attention to your sense. Your intuition is telling you something, and they are communicating with you, with the part of you that just knows. You have a relationship with them. It doesn't end when they transition into a different realm from their physical body. You have a connection with them still, and so they're communicating with you, and your gut sense is correct. And so pay attention to things out of the ordinary. And that can be a smell in the house or outside. It can be in an animal. I've gotten feathers, coins, just different objects that appear, and you just know that it's something from them. So be aware, and if nothing is coming, just be patient, stay focused, and set your intention to, I love you, and I know you're here, and I'd love to hear from you. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And dreams, by the way, are visitations. Mm-hmm. Dreams can be such healing, pieces.
I think many people are going to resonate with that, and I just wanted to thank you, Anne-Marie, for talking about your life and what you've discovered and sharing yourself with us.
Well, you're so welcome. It's great fun to share, and I do hope that it does help people. And if you want to enjoy something fun, look for the Google Syracuse University Hawk Nest Cam if you are into watching hawks refurbish a nest and the miracle of laying an egg and seeing it hatch and watching them take care of their chicks.
Where can people find you?
Me? Well, I have a Facebook page that is very specifically devoted to the hawks, and it's called Red-Tailed Hawk Tales. Tales. Mm-hmm. And it's because I'm a storyteller, I'm a writer, and I do visual storytelling with my photographs. So I will photograph the hawks or any other wildlife that crosses my path here in Oakwood or Eshu, mm-hmm. and I make a story out of it every day. And I do post every day. Mm-hmm. So yesterday's post had was it yesterday? Had a heron that I saw, and a merlin. It's not just the hawks. If I see something wonderful, I will do that. So yes, please go to my Facebook page. Mm-hmm. I do have a Facebook page for my book and a website, Dancing in Two Realms, A Love Story Beyond Death. And that's, I can be reached to talk about my book specifically through my website with an email. Yeah.
Good, that's great information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. If you like the podcast, please share it with some of your friends. I love to hear from my listeners. Send me an email at NicoleChristina.com. In this phase of our lives, we're more aware that our time is precious, and we certainly don't want to waste it taking care of stuff that we no longer need, left over from a life that we are no longer living. We know we would feel better with less clutter and more open space, but we don't know how to get there. If this sounds familiar, I'd love you to check out the online course I've developed with professional organizer and designer Carrie Luderin. This course is different than others you may have tried because we give you clear steps to deal with the clutter and tools to help you face the overwhelm and feelings that come up when you're going through your clutter. It's practical and realistic, and the lessons are short and punchy and very manageable, but it has the power to change your life. We all deserve to live in a peaceful home without the chaos of too much stuff. Find out more at NicoleChristina.com. And stay tuned next week for another interview with a fascinating and inspiring guest.